Hey everyone, it's Tom here with a look at Rocket League on Nintendo Switch, and to join me today is Richard Ledbetter.
Hello.
Hey, well this conversion comes from Panic Button, the guys that did, well, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they handled the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 versions of Rocket League, but perhaps more interestingly for this particular project, they also handled the impossible port, Doom, on the Switch, which turned out pretty well.
Yeah, I suppose that's got a few parallels with the Rocket League on Switch, in that it's not really meant to happen. As you said, it's an impossible port. It's a current gen game coming to Nintendo Switch, and to be fair to the hardware, it does a reasonable job. In fact, I'd say a little bit more flattering than what we had with Doom, which was a sort of 30 FPS, sub 30 FPS game with a lot of compromises. This conversion actually gets the experience across, and that's really crucial for what they're going for in terms of the gameplay style.
Yeah, I think this is quite fascinating because we're looking at a reversal of the priorities that we saw in Doom. So in Doom, they were happy to cut the frame rate and compromise the experience that way. But with Rocket League here, they've clearly aimed to retain the game's signature 60 frames per second gameplay, and they've had to make cuts elsewhere.
It feels like a very good take on the experience, but for sure it doesn't look anything as good as the PS4 or Xbox One versions. First off, you've noticed already the resolution side of things is seriously cut back.
Okay, so we're looking at the docked experience, right?
That's right, right here is docked. If you want the metrics, this is all targeting 720p. That goes for docked and portable. So 720p is the sort of max resolution you're going to get out of the game. But what happens when you throw 4 versus 4 cars into a big arena, you're basically ending up with resolutions much lower than that, thanks to a dynamic res scaler.
Okay, so what are the ranges we've got to deal with here? We've got 720p at the top end. What other measurements have we seen elsewhere?
Well, essentially the docked version, as you'd expect, has the GPU horsepower to push 720p more often, more consistently, but that's not to say it doesn't drop. So you're getting numbers like 1024 by 576, 576p, a very familiar number if you remember the PAL days, which to be honest doesn't look too great all the time on a 1080p screen. But that is the lowest number I've recorded, and that happens in the split screen mode with 2 players. Generally you're going to get dips to around the 1152 by 648 mark, 648p.
Okay, well on the one hand, if that means that it sustains a 60 frames per second target, that's fine by me, I guess. But at the same time, most displays these days, 1080p, 640 isn't really going to cut it for living room play.
The thing is, they have actually instated a post-process AA here, much like the PS4 and Xbox One versions. Not sure it's the same quality, but it is there. So getting ahead of the game here a bit, but that's why it will look a bit, say, blurrier compared to the portable mode, which excises that completely from the experience. But yeah, generally it does look a bit rough, and certainly they're gunning for the gameplay side of things here.
So resolution apart, how does it compare to the PlayStation 4 version?
I think texture filtering quality is radically reduced here, and while there are effects like bloom, there are other things like light shafts that are missing, which is a bit of a shame. It's a nice sort of additional effect they threw on top of this. And of course there's that grass shader effect you see on the menu screen as you turn around your car. That's actually missing during gameplay.
We're looking at a compromised experience as expected compared to the PlayStation 4, huge power gulf between the two systems, but obviously there's another consideration to bear in mind, and that is portable play. So if we're having issues playing docked, how does it stack up when playing portably?
It comes down to resolution again. Again, you know, 720p is the max bounds, but 432p, that's 768 by 432, is the lowest I've found. It potentially goes lower than that, but that's what I picked up during a 2-player split screen game with 4v4 action. That's actually possible with portable play. You can have 2 Joy-Cons on the go, which is great, and it's a max of 4-player split screen with docked. But yeah, either way, you're going to get lower numbers doing that with the portable side of things. So 432p on a small screen, it does show up. It is considerably more aliased, lots more flickering, all the usual stuff that goes with that level of scaling.
And what's the score with texture filtering?
Texture filtering for sure is radically reduced in quality. You know, you're going to see a much nearer field cascade on textures, blurrier, but again, because it's on a smaller screen, you're not going to notice as much as compared to say when it's blown up to a full screen. But it's curious to see that even though both consoles target a max of 720p, you're still getting a lower quality of texture filtering in the portable mode, so it's not related to the resolution it's running at that specific moment.
And the shadows seem to have disappeared.
Yeah, that's probably the most notable part. Yeah, it is a barren wasteland on the portable mode. You just don't get any shadows from anything anymore. All the shading on the underside of the ball, the cars, it's all stripped away, leaving it looking a bit sort of light and plain. That might be one of the more noticeable cutbacks compared to dock play, and it's a bit of a shame.
There have been a lot of key compromises here. The question is, has it paid off? Now, we were looking for that locked 60 frames per second experience. What's your take here?
It's gone in the right direction, I think. They've pushed out a mostly 60 FPS experience for docked play, and it's comparable to what you get in the portable mode as well. And it seems to obey a kind of double buffer VSync type of logic where it sort of flatlines at a number momentarily and then rises back to 60 FPS. That's always at the moment of contact with explosions and bits of the car falling off, so a bit of physics there. But generally I've fed in about an hour's worth of gameplay, mostly in 4v4 to really stress the engine, and you know, this 60 FPS line is what you get. And this is with the netcode in play as well, so this is online play with human players.
Okay, so it looks as though the Gambit has kind of paid off. I think from my perspective, the handheld experience possibly might hold up even more than the docked. The reason being that that small screen really does hide a multitude of evils, but based on what I've seen, the frame rate seems to be pretty much level with the docked experience. Meanwhile, if you're playing this game docked on, like, you know, 50-inch, 55-inch living room TV, that lower resolution is going to stand out quite a bit more.
I think that's a fair assessment, you know. This is obviously compromised. It looks kind of flat and barren, but it is playable at 60, and I've never experienced this on a handheld quite like this. Whereas, and I'm sure there are many people in my position, they may have a PS4 already with Rocket League on that. You're not going to move to the Switch version to play it. So it's really the distinguishing point, as with so many games ported to this console, that you can then play this even with the sort of warts and all approach to the visuals.
Yeah, I think this has been a fascinating one to look at. I mean, one thing I think we should bear in mind is that this is an Unreal Engine 3 game, and there isn't actually an Unreal Engine 3 iteration available for the Switch. So Panic Button has had to produce this port right from the ground up, so it wouldn't have been easy. There are compromises there, but you know, by and large the frame rate holds true, and by extension the gameplay.
And even better than that is the fact they've adopted the Switch functionality to a pretty impressive degree. I mean, you can get split screen with all the Joy-Cons used, and right here we've got the 2-player in docked mode. I'm afraid this is one area where the frame rate does take a hit though. You know, it's about 45 to 60 FPS, that sort of region of playability, and it may well go lower with 4 players on there. But yeah, generally I'd agree. If you sat there on your own with the Switch in hand, this is a really solid game. I mean, it's not a looker all the time, but I think I'm really happy with the way it plays.
Okay, well, good stuff. We had a lot of requests to look at this one. Obviously we've been quite busy recently, but we did get around to it, and I'm quite pleased that we did. But I think that's where we're going to leave things for now. As always, please do like and subscribe to support the work we do here at Digital Foundry. But for now, from me and Tom, thanks for watching.